Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for clicking on to start this Friday night off, 9:02 p.m., the third day of May for you earthlings. I'm from the future, so I'm always like a day ahead. So I thought this was Cinco. I thought today was Star Wars Day and tomorrow was Cinco de Mayo. That's because, like I said, I'm a day ahead. But happy May the 3rd to you, and May the 4th be with you tomorrow, and a uh, very festive Cinco de Mayo on Sunday. I've been saying that watching what's going on weather wise, that there would be tornadoes on the 5th or the 6th in Indiana. That would be Sunday or Monday. Not looking like that's going to happen as far as traditional radar goes, but I'm basing this on potential weather manipulation. So we'll see what happens. Lori Arnold, moi, the one and only Rainbow Unicorn, and thank you all for clicking on. Chris is going to be here soon, and we're going to talk a little bit about Haiti to start things off, and then we're going to have a discussion on the movie Civil War. And if you have seen the movie, feel free to hop up here with us. If you have questions about the movie, you can hop up and ask in person, or you can simply hang on a second here. You can simply put it in the chat. And Chris is here, so we're just about to get started with about a 5 or 6 thing bookmark, and we'll bring Chris up as we run through the X Files, and we'll say hello. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Barry, how are you this evening? How's everyone in the audience?
Really good, man. You're coming through really clear.
Good. I'm glad. Good.
All right. Let's get started and run through the X scroll real fast. Starting out here, the U.S. Central Command has announced that due to severe weather conditions, including high winds and seas, the Army's Joint Logistics Over the Shore floating dock off the coast of Gaza, which was set to be completed and possibly begin humanitarian operations this weekend, will be delayed. They're not going to be able to put the floating dock together in time to get it launched this weekend. Chris, I don't know if we've talked since the announcement came out that the Biden administration was considering bringing the Palestinian refugees that nobody else wanted to America, bringing them to America. But I'm sure you've heard that, right?
I think we discussed that, and I just don't think that's the best idea.
Okay. The reason I'm starting out with this tonight is this floating dock, is this about getting aid into the people of Gaza, or is this about getting the people of Gaza out of Gaza?
My understanding is more about getting. I think it has to do with the oil and the gas that's underneath Gaza. I think this is where the this floating dock comes in. I think they're working underneath it, but that's one answer to your question. But the other answer is the infill and exfill of the people, or the exfil of the people of Gaza. It could be, right? But as you know, the United States isn't really concerned about people and humanitarian rights. The United States is always concerned about money.
Okay.
So it could be. It very well could be. But I wouldn't put a whole lot of money into it, a whole lot of stock into it.
Okay, this next story is from Scooter. A New York City chief of operations announced, quote, somebody is radicalizing our students. The deputy commissioner said, quote, we will find out who that is. What do you think's going on the campuses? Is this organic, or do we have outside agitators and infiltrators, as I've been saying?
Outside agitators, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This this is Biden's chief of the Council of Economic Advisors, Jared Bernstein, and I'll just play this. And
why do we borrow our own currency?
I'll just play this, and we'll discuss it after the minute 42.
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
It obviously begs the question, why exactly are we borrowing in a currency that we print ourselves? I'm waiting for someone to stand up and say, why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
Like you said, they print the dollar. So why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Since they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah. So a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to I guess I'm just, I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Like,
Chris?
Yep.
Any comments?
No.
Are we in trouble economically?
We've always been in trouble economically.
Okay.
We just keep rabbit holing ourselves deeper and deeper.
Okay, so what I thought the guy was going to do was just say, shut up, you'll never understand it because I'm smarter than you, which is what normally happens. But instead, the guy goes, we print money and we lend money, and then there's kind of bonds, and I mean, isn't that how it works? Is that how it works? And this is the chairman of the let's get the title exactly right. He's the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, the main agency advising Biden on economic policy.
And this is the guy that's advising President Biden. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, back to the campuses for just a minute. This happened today at the University of Chicago. And I've been kind of saying that we're not going to see violence necessarily, law enforcement on students, as much as we're going to see violence of students on students, and I think this kind of leads to that. Okay, so this is happening on more and more campuses that are having pro-Palestinian protests. There are quote unquote patriots showing up. Mm-hmm. And according to Alex Jones, that's all part of the plan. Alex has put out a video today that oddly enough, he calls the Civil War has begun. Discover the globalist kill list. And I'm going to see if I had it queued up here. See if I can't find the, it was after Bernie. Okay, let's go from about right here and listen to the last.
That has Civil War already begun? And how do we stop this total takeover? But this is it. And then once they've got us, carbon lockdowns, vaccine passports, a new virus will be released. But they want to first get rid of all their political opposition and have a big burnout. And it's happening. And the CIA are experts at overthrowing governments using civil unrest. They're doing it to us now. So they already tried the censorship. They already stole a couple of elections. They've already been through those permutations. And now they're going to their last thing. And that's a coup against the American people and the American system, not just Trump, but a coup against you and your freedom and your future. And they want to zip it up by, oh, we're the mediators, we're the wardens, the prison head. Well, you guys were all fighting, and we had to come in and fix it. That's in the IMF World Bank documents that got leaked in 2001. It's a 112-point plan, and they say in there, we fund civil unrest, we fund whatever groups we can to clash. So that's the cover for us collapsing things. And the old monetary system goes down, the central bank digital currencies come out, the mark of the beast, the whole 9 yards. This is it. This is absolutely it, ladies and gentlemen. So just understand that. It's more important than ever to keep independent, true media on air. And when you buy the product...
Again, that's Alex Jones. He's known as, how do I say this, Chris? He sometimes has a verboseness to him that that makes people turn off the fact that he could be telling the truth.
A lot of times he is.
Yeah, and we'll get to this. Has the Civil War begun? Earlier in this 25-minute video, he said there was already a hit list that Trump will be killed first, and the same day Trump's killed, Senator, one of the senators and a couple of the Congress people, and Alex Jones will be killed, and Joe Rogan will be killed, and anybody that speaks out will be killed. And I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that's what he said. Now, last night I did a pretty extensive episode on this new legislation that passed that said, basically, you can't say anything bad about Israel if this gets signed into law. And I got response of, this is just for the students and on the camp. No, it's not.
Right.
This is going to, if this goes into law, we'll be able to say, fuck Joe Biden. We'll be able to say, fuck Donald Trump. We won't be able to say, fuck Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right. That's just makes absolutely no sense. I'm like, how we can badmouth our own government, but we can't badmouth their government? So what's the bigger picture here?
I think it is. Personally, I think it is a first step. It's to get us to accept that, okay, all right, we can't say anything bad about Israel. Well, the next step is, all right, you cannot say anything bad about our government, the U.S. government. I think it's just the first step in a progression to really suppress the First Amendment and anybody's opinion that is in contrary to whoever's in power.
Yeah, well, my question is, how are they going to enforce it? You can have all the laws on the books, but how are you really going to enforce this? That's the thing, right?
They'll enforce it by taking the big people off of social media, so that everybody knows they are indeed listening, and as an attempted fear tactic, to make you intimidation tactic to make you afraid to say the truth, and they will. I mean, it's going to be such an easy thing to do, to use against people. Go back and look at your old social media posts. Did you ever say anything against Israel? Or I know I sure have.
Yeah, it was yeah. Here's the thing. Yeah, we have. I think most people have. If you look at things objectively, historically, of course.
I spent years behind a pulpit in two churches, pastoring churches, and I preached the Gospels, and I preached the New Testament and the Old Testament, and and the Bible is pretty clear in the New Testament about how the Jews were responsible for the death of Jesus, but yet you're not going to be able to say that.
Well, That's I think that's it's really gonna be tested. You know.
Yeah, it will. I hope so anyway. But what kind of court? What's the court going to do? Yeah, it'll get tested, but how's the court going to respond? Um, Louisiana High Court, speaking how courts will respond, has said that the priests of Louisiana have the quote unquote right to not be sued for sexual abuse. The state Supreme Court ruled that priests have a quote property right, end quote, not to be sued for sexual abusing children.
Yeah. Okay. Who came up with that one?
The Supreme Court of Louisiana, unfortunately. I mentioned this in passing last month, and I pulled it back up because I skipped over it, honestly, and I forgot to bring it up and mention it. But the plaintiff says he was sexually abused by a priest at a Catholic church in St. Martinsville, Louisiana. Archdiocese of New Orleans alleged to have run a statewide child sex trafficking ring. And there's enough proof for it that the Supreme Court has said that priests cannot be sued for sexually abusing children.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how corrupt some things are in our country, dude. Unfortunately,
like that's all right. So you say there can't be held liable. Okay. So like, what do you do when you have a parent that's really pissed off, and now can these people be arrested? They can't be held liable. Liable is criminal, or not criminal, but civil. But
right?
Will be held criminal, or they held responsible.
Well, they're not arrested, so there aren't ever any criminal charges.
All right. Well, they better be careful because
people are going to take the law into their own hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's what I think that might be part of the bigger plan. It's been really weird, Chris. I've found myself. See, I'm not a far leftist. I'm not a leftist. I'm not a far rightist. I'm not a rightist. I'm actually in the center, and I've always been that way. And I decide my position based on what the issue is.
Right.
And the issues coming up here, like this anti-Semitism, I find myself aligned with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Bernie Sanders at the same time in opposition to this thing. All right, we'll get back to it. For those that don't know, this is Ryan Hall, y'all. He's known probably as the internet's weatherman. He says 2 hours ago, once again, because we've seen this happen 3 days in a row, one of the most insane tornadoes I've ever seen on radar just occurred, this time near Robert Lee, Texas, as the 2024 tornado season continues to be mind-blowing. Chris, I think they're using radar that normally tracks storms. And I say this because the certain radar stations have been turned off in the past couple of weeks and possibly recalibrated so that they are sending out the radiation and not receiving it. And thus, when a storm, they're not creating storms, but when the time is right for a storm, they can intensify and magnify that storm. And once they find out they can do it, with any experiment, you got to replicate it. So I think they've been firing up these storms. I think not only the United States, but probably China and Russia and Saudi Arabia all have the capacity to manipulate the weather. And what you're seeing here is basically a hurricane forming on land. Normally you see a tornado, and the tornado will be in what's known as the hook right here, or up here in what's the hook of the main body. But what's happening here is it's wrapping itself all the way around, and it's going up in the air like 18,000 feet and sucking incredibly cold air back down into this warm air, which is just generating these beasts of tornadoes. And I'm not surprised, but I'm also been labeled a conspiracy theorist. The United States is considering arming the armed forces of Haiti for the first time since their disbandment in 1990. This potential decision marks a significant shift in U.S. policy towards Haiti's military and reflects a reevaluation of Haiti's security needs. So let's transition into Haiti. The New York Times article is gone. Here we go. According to One India, Haiti violence, fresh gang violence erupts in Haiti after a new prime minister was announced. Now, I think this is a bogus story. There hasn't been a new prime minister announced, has there, Chris?
Yeah, actually, there was a new prime minister announced, but
Okay.
they're actually trying to recall it because there's so much division amongst the transitional council.
Okay, but they did publicly announce
Oh, yeah.
because the last I heard they had selected somebody, but they weren't going to bring it out in the public. So
yeah.
they brought it out. It wasn't successful, and they said, "Okay, they just kidding."
Yeah, well, it wasn't. It was just the simple fact that there was too much division amongst the council, so they wanted to bring it back. So
Okay, all right, Chris. Talk a little bit about Haiti. What do you see? What do you see happening? Where do you see Haiti going? How can Haiti achieve a place of self-determination and independence, or can it?
it could, it really could. And you talk about the Haitian military, the Haitian army possibly becoming armed by our government, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you have to be concerned about is Guy Philippe, because he was a rebel leader that overthrew the government back was that in 2004. Now the military, the people in the military, a lot of them still have, I think, ties to Philippe. Right? But furthermore, those guys aren't. That new military isn't even trained. So you're giving weapons to untrained individuals. I think I told you on one of the shows last time I was in Haiti. I was trying to speak with their army about disaster relief, but at that point they really hadn't been trained, and this is back in 2018, and it's been so quiet that I really don't believe that they have been trained, because you can see everything goes to the hands of the police, nothing to the military. Right? They dump all the money into the police. So the whole thing with the military was disbanded because of human rights violations, or at least our government wasn't going to deal with them because of human rights violations. And now they're saying, well, yeah, we are going to deal with you because there's too much instability going on. I'm just like, you work with people or groups of people when it's convenient for you. You see, if they would have done this some time ago, maybe this stuff wouldn't be happening. But it is, because anytime there's a problem, we wait for the problem in the United States to become extremely big, then we attack the problem. We don't
reactive instead of proactive.
Right. We don't mitigate problems. We seriously react to problems. So here's a big problem, and now we have to try to fix it instead of mitigating it. But I've been getting reports about the guerrilla fighters, specifically Cherizier. He was allegedly burning down people's homes because he said, or they weren't going to support him, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. Um, and then they said that there was audio tape of him saying things about killing the people and burning down the homes. I'm just like, okay, this is the United States government. This is their psychological operation. Okay, we're gonna it's information it's the information disinformation campaigns, and we call it information operations, and how they're going to continuously badmouth and make this Jimmy Cherizier look really bad, like to the entire world, even though he probably isn't doing it. So the way to counter that is for him and his gang, or his group of armed non-state actors or regulars, or guerrillas, his guerrilla fighters, to really have their own, what we call psychological operations division, where they can really do their own information operations. So like when they're out in the field, they can actually show people what's going on, right? So like through social media, they can put things out. Maybe even have a representative talking to people on the radio, or even conducting interviews with like reporters, so they can really get the word out. Because what it seems, the Haitian national government and the international community, their information operations campaign is one of disinformation and misinformation, to, of course, put a negative spotlight on the gang. So something that crossed my mind the other day, there was an interview with one of the leaders from one of the local factions, and he said, sometimes we get involved with gunfights, engagements with the police. A lot of times, a lot of innocent people get hit, and they say a lot, and he was saying that the police end up blaming that on the gangs, and I'm like, okay, and so that's what's put out, and that they really need to be the first ones, if something like that were to happen, like they get involved in engagements with the police, and innocent, civilians end up getting killed. Then they need to put that back on the police and say, "Hey, look what the police did. We were involved in an engagement, and they shot down, all these civilians. That wasn't us." So you really put it back out on them. But first of all, you have to put that out first, because people are going to believe what they hear and see first. If it comes second, then people really aren't going to believe it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, the power of psychological warfare,
Right.
the absolute power of messaging.
Right. So, a lot of times these gangs are involved in, like I said, engagements with the police, and innocent civilians, what we call collateral damage, or civilian casualties, they get hit and they get killed. But the police, and whoever's with the police, the international community and the government of Haiti, is coming out and saying, hey, that was the gangs, and they went to that village and they they went to that area and they massacred the people, which probably wasn't true. You see, it was probably like they said, hey, well, look, we're involved in the engagement, and innocent people got killed. But what they're doing is they're putting it off on the gangs as a massacre. You see?
Right. Yeah.
So the best way to counter that is to have your own what we call psychological operations division, where they can put out, hey, look, it's just the opposite. The misinformation, information campaign against the Haitian national government and the international community, because that's something that they're definitely missing when it comes to that. But furthermore, I kind of want to discuss what those guerrilla forces should not be doing.
Okay.
They should not be engaging with the police, going head to head against them. Okay, the guerrillas control the tempo of the battlefield. Okay, they're more or less hit and run type individuals. Okay, they're really not supposed to be on defense. They're supposed to be on offense. They're supposed to be able to strike whenever they want. Okay, the opposition or the government is not supposed to be able to get to the guerrilla fighters. You see, um, so the guerrilla fighters should never be on defense. They should always be on offense. That's the important thing, and that's why I talk about the community. Right? We talk about the community and how important the community is because they're the ones who be giving the police the information, right? Or where these gangs are, or where the guerrillas are at the time, and so that way the police can launch an attack whenever they want, which leaves the guerrillas on the defensive side. When in fact, if you have that community support, they'll be able to tell you, "Hey, look, the police are coming. Get ready." You can either move, or you can start to launch an attack even before they launch theirs. You see, which
Mhm.
would call like a hasty ambush or something like that, right? But if you don't have that community support, you don't, you need to garner it quick, fast, in a hurry, because now what the Haitian police are doing is now they're applying pressure, okay, to the guerrillas, when in fact, the guerrillas should have like stomped the flames. If you're going to start something, you need to finish it. Okay, there's
Are
not.
the police applying pressure now because they know that relief is on the way, that reinforcements are on the way from other countries, including the United States?
I don't think that they're doing that. I think the guerrilla forces have. I think once Henri was out, I think they kind of like let up a little bit, right? And once Henri was out, yes, that's the start. But eventually, the whole purpose um, is to overthrow the complete government of Haiti. That means taking over, you know, the government itself.
And
Okay.
if you were to communicate with the head of the liberation group of Haiti, um, what would you recommend as far as to be successful in overthrowing that government?
Okay. So
Just and this is kind of for those watching. This is just kind of an ad hoc war game thing. This isn't like we're advocating for overthrowing anything. Just to be clear, go ahead.
I would tell them, I hope your command and control structure is in place. You have a proper chain of command, because a lot of these your fighters and hopefully your leaders don't end up getting killed or seriously injured, because they're going to be taken off the battlefield and they have to be replaced. Um, but furthermore, also have it's the proper training, what we call knowledge, to defeat the enemy, right? So they would have to have, like I said, the proper economics, the proper logistics, and I also said the community support is very, very important. Okay, because as you can see, this thing can be going on for a while.
Hmm.
This isn't something that just you can do like in a couple days time.
Right.
If you don't have those things like the economics, logistics, and community support, you're going to fail. Okay, and that's why it's important now, to have all those things there, like while you're in battle. Okay, because like I said, I think one time on the show I said the opposition, the government, and those incoming security forces, they're going to have all that. The only thing
Hmm.
they're not going to have is a community support.
Community support.
And if you are out there um, hurting the community, that's when the counterinsurgents can come in and garner the support and turn all that against you. Because if I were the counterinsurgents, I would um, start training the the civilian populace, right? Start training the civilian populace and actually turn them against the gangs. But if you have the community support, you can turn those individuals against the counterinsurgents, which would be uh, the the Haitian National Police and the incoming Kenyan force, as well as the others like the people from Belize, the Belizean army, um, the army from Jamaica, and whoever else is going to. And I think was it the Bahamas or Barbados, one of the two, is coming in. So these are things that they need to know. But otherwise, even the same way in Afghanistan, we had on the battlefield. It was like it, we had like this. It was like a football field, right? And it was 20% was for the Taliban, 60% was undecided, and the other 20% was totally against the Taliban. Okay, which means 20% was for the United States, 60% was undecided, and the other 20% would be for the Taliban. Right, just the opposite. So your whole mission, and I say this from looking at it from the insurgent guerrilla side, is to garner that support from the people that are undecided.
Mm-hmm.
You need to garner that support because not everyone's going to support you and what you're doing. All right. So you have to take a look at the people that are undecided, and the best way to garner their support is most likely going to be through, like I said, the humanitarian aid and the social services. Because once you do that, then they have like no other, they really have no reason to support the counterinsurgents coming in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. All right, let's transition here. We're going to be talking about the movie Civil War that takes place here in the United States. Would you classify what is going on in Haiti as a civil war?
To a certain extent,
Okay.
I would. So as to a certain extent, I would, because once again, it's the the people, or not, not all the people, but predominantly the people that have risen up to overthrow the government. You see, so you have different factions, right? Right now you have the guerrilla fighters, what they're calling the gangs. Then you have the government, right? And then you have the people that are undecided. Okay, and it was the same thing in Afghanistan. It
Mm-hmm.
really was. And, I mean, insurgency is insurgency, civil war, civil war. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but when I take a look at Afghanistan compared to what's going on right now in Haiti, I see a lot of parallels, and that's why I'm actually able to talk about these things and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, these are the things that need to be done for this group to be successful, because these are things that we failed to do in Afghanistan, which made us fail. You see?
Yeah. Yeah. And just to kind of put a bow on things, I remember you telling me that when you were in Afghanistan, you had the advantage as far as technology, as far as equipment, as far as um, logistic knowledge, et cetera, and they only had like AK-47s
Right.
and missile launch, right, and shoulder rocket launchers, and they won.
right. So once again, the formula is there. Okay. If the guerrilla forces cannot last the the um the counterinsurgents, they're going to win. And even because eventually the counterinsurgents are going to leave, because they're really what we call short-term stability. Okay, the long-term stability is going to come from that Haitian national government. okay, from the and from the community. All right, that's your long-term stability. And if you don't have that long-term stability, what once the short-term stability leaves, it's just going to go back to what it was when, like where it is right now. You see?
And short-term stability is always provided by outside influences. Let's
Exactly.
keep that in mind as we begin to talk about civil war, because if we and I don't think we are very far away. I think we're potentially months away from actually seeing this happen. Um, the once we lose control of our own country, other countries will come in to restore control. Those countries will be Russia and China.
That's correct, right? So think about it like this. We talk about external influencers, right?
Hmm.
So do you think like Russia and China would influence the insurgents if there was a civil war here? Of course they would, because they want to see the demise of the United States, right?
Yeah, I think they're behind what's going on the campuses.
Right. So, they would provide, once again, the logistics. Okay. They would provide the economics. Now, all the fighters have to do is garner that community support. You see, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing. But there will always be an external influencer, because you cannot conduct a long term what we call a long sustained campaign without those. It's just not going to happen. You have to have the money, the logistics to even do something like that, because otherwise that's a complete failure. And that's a long sustained campaign. It really is.
Hmm.
It's not going to happen like in like 2 or 3 days. You're going to see like DC fall. No, that's going to take some time. It really is.
Hmm.
So,
All
um,
right. Let's for those that don't know anything at all about the movie, this may be a time you want to um, click off. Unfortunately, because we're going to show the well, we're going to show the two trailers for the movie. And as soon as we get done with this advertisement, I had played this before and got the ad off, but the internet likes to reset to make sure that everybody but Doofus gets paid. All right, here we go. Here's the first trailer from the movie, and we've shown this on here before.
Citizens of America.
People of the Florida Alliance.
And the Western forces of Texas and California will be welcomed back to these United States as soon as their illegal secessionist government is deposed.
You don't know what side they're fighting for.
Someone's trying to kill us. We are trying to kill them.
A key thing there, he said, "You don't know which side you're fighting for?" And he said, "Somebody's trying to kill us. We're trying to kill them." Um, that's what happens when there isn't established lines of communication, established lines of authority, correct?
that's 110% correct. Now you know.
Go ahead.
No, I was I'm gonna let you finish that. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the other trailer here. Oh,
Ooh, hang on.
okay.
All right, go ahead.
You need to take that?
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure how to get to the other trailer now. Let me get down here. Here we go. Hopefully we don't have another commercial.
We need to show you the box behind it.
We do. We got a commercial here. So, again, thank you all for watching. Thanks for clicking on. We'll be over in the comments in a few minutes. If you want to hop on and discuss the movie when we get there, please feel free to do so. The link is at the top. And here's the second trailer.
States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
Are you guys aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America?
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens?
We're moving to D.C. today.
You need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol.
Every instinct in me says this is death.
Bloody.
Every time I survived a war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. What? Well, you're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
The Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car!
Move, move, move!
You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go, 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 go!
God bless America.
Okay, those two clips came from IMBD. Let's go now to Roger Ebert and what he thought of Civil War. Whatever you expect from an Alex Garland movie, he always gives you something else. Civil War is something else again. It premiered in the U.S. hours before I published this, and it's already divisive. I look forward to reading all of the arguments for and against, even though both early raves and pans seem to be operating under the reductive assumption that's one of three things: an alternative future of history of a divided United States that's intended as a cautionary tale. That's kind of what I took it as. 2, a technically proficient but empty-headed misery porn compendium that derives much of its power from images redolent of genocide and or lynching, but ducks political specifics so as not to offend reactionaries. Or a visionary spectacular with ultra-violence that might or might not have something important to say, but will definitely look and sound great on an expensive home entertainment center. And real briefly, for those watching that don't know anything about it, a civil war has erupted. Here's the plot between the United States government and various regional factions. The president, who's now serving a third term, claims that victory is close at hand. Renowned war photographer Lee Smith saves aspiring journalist Jesse Cullen from a suicide bombing in Brooklyn. So let's just take it. Let's just take it from there, Chris. And your reactions.
All right. So when that suicide bombing occurred, I kind of missed that because it was a white girl that actually conducted the suicide bombing. I thought it was like an airstrike, something like that. But it was a suicide bombing because I never thought, I never looked at it as a white female could ever possibly be a suicide bomber. So like I kind of missed it. But this goes to show you, it's got an asymmetrical. It's not completely, should we say, conventional. It's going to be asymmetrical as well. Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to
And it's like we've touched on now for the past, for 4 years now, we've been talking about, is there going to be a civil war here in the United States? Could we ever get to that? And it was absurd when we first started talking about it. And the one thing that's been consistent is that this isn't going to be, fighting's not going to be everywhere across the country.
Right, exactly. And the thing that really we really should pay attention to is, of course, we think about suicide bombers. What's the first thing we think about when we hear
A suicide bomber, the first thing you think is Muslim.
Exactly, right. Well, that movie just showed that, guess what, that's going to change. You see, so
or it shows a Muslim influence into the culture of the youth here, including the white female women.
Right. So, but don't just look at it. Just don't look at, as this is, suicide bombers are going to be someone from Islam. No, that's going to change. Okay. And why is Nigeria, there were a lot of suicide bombers, and guess what they were? They were women and children. You see, you're not looking at your military age male. So
right, and because what you don't want to take somebody off the potential battlefield.
Right. So you're looking for this military age male, and meanwhile here comes this 8 to 10-year-old kid up, and they're blowing themselves up, or a female that's maybe 19, 20, and they blow themselves up in the middle of a market. You see, you're not expecting that. The same way I wasn't expecting to see that white female, right, blow herself up in the middle of that movie. It was like a shock to me, because I'd never ever thought of a white female blowing herself up or blowing themselves up. No,
and she didn't do it at a point of military conflict. She did it at a point where people were gathering to try to get water.
Right. Exactly. It was a protest, a demonstration. You see, with the police and with another group. It was a protest.
Yeah, they were trying to get water. They were demanding water.
Yeah,
and because the city had been shut off. Lee, the photographer, the female photographer, saw what was coming and saved the young female that had gotten hit in the head with a flagpole. All of it was very legitimate. There wasn't anything outlandish as far as that explosion scene.
No, I mean, that's very realistic. And you talked about this being a cautionary tale. I was like, whoa. I'm like, that's a very real scenario.
Yeah,
that's a very real scenario. You see?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I think people really need to pay attention to this and be like, hey, is this something that we really want to do? Okay.
No.
Because
I don't.
I don't either.
That's why we keep talking about it.
Right. I really don't. Because the thing about it is all these people talking about they want a civil war, and I don't think these people ever really set foot on the battlefield. And that's the thing. I don't know if these people have ever been in a fight, and punched someone in the face. No, it seems like it's all these people that have never, been in a fight or just go out and playing with guns. They say, yeah, well, we want a civil war. Man, not really. You really don't. Because, there'll be times where you're hunting people, right? And there's be times where you're being hunted. You see?
For real.
And people don't understand that. Right? You think just because you're on the offensive one day and then You know, because there's some days I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not gonna want to be out there fighting. You know, this is where you really need to be mentally and physically prepared. All right, and a lot of people aren't even there yet. Okay, they're not. All right, so you think like this stuff's gonna be like like a walk in a park, and there's gonna be like maybe a week or two where this just goes on? No, no, this stuff goes on for a long, long time. If you're not physically and mentally prepared for something like this, you're gonna fail. Okay, you're gonna be one of the casualties because if something like this jumps off, I'm stepping out of the way of this as far as possible. I'm gonna let you know that
Absolutely.
right now.
Absolutely. So
So
we go from the explosion in New York to they're on the road. They're going through the back roads to get from New York City to Washington D.C. before the Western alliances get there to take the president out, so they can get the shots. They can get the story. It transitions from the city into the rural area, and there's juxtapositions in that it shows a really calm, peaceful little small town. Then it shows people taking the law into their own hands.
yes, yes, and that's something else you have to be concerned about, right? Remember that gas station scene? Right?
Absolutely.
And the he had those two guys hanging up. I guess it was at the car wash or whatever. But anyway,
Yeah.
he had those two guys hanging up, and he said, "Yeah, me and this guy went to high school together or whatever." You know, I forgot what the justification was for him doing it, but
Looting. They were looters,
right,
allegedly.
right. So, but the bottom line is, um, I think I told the audience this one time before that the waters get muddied, and it's not just about um, you know overthrowing the government. The people have different agendas when it comes to
Private vendettas are
right.
allowed during times of lawlessness.
Exactly. You see, so you got to be really careful when it comes to this stuff.
We got to
And
be really careful. Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
exactly. Bottom line. Bottom line.
Yeah. All right. So they eventually you know, we don't want to give too much of the movie away. They eventually make it to Washington D.C. and that's where the major war scenes are played out. How realistic were those battle scenes that you saw as they tried to egress into the White House?
All right. So I've never seen anything like that. You know, and like I said, all my time in Afghanistan, it was like I said, it's really nothing even like that. Okay. Um,
Let's compare it. Let's compare it to the United States taking one of Saddam's palaces.
okay.
All right. At that time, there wasn't a lot of resistance. The U.S. just went in, right?
Right. Right. So
Here you're going to have Secret Service, military, loyalists trying to protect the president at all
hopefully,
costs.
hopefully, hopefully, that's you know that's what's supposed to happen, right? But what really happens is something completely different because you know you're going to have the National Guard brought out, D.C. Army National Guard, Maryland Army National Guard, and probably Virginia National Guard. You're going to have a whole bunch of those National Guardsmen brought into D.C. You saw what happened during J6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you saw what happened when uh, all the Air National Guard and the Army National Guard were all brought together from different states, you see, to protect the capital. Well, the same thing would probably be true if you know that were getting ready to occur. So they would have to bring in different National Guard bureaus from different states to come in and protect the White House and also D.C.
But as far as exploding the towers and using the vehicles as explosive containers, that's pretty realistic.
Well, yeah. That could be realistic, but the security forces.
Didn't we see that a lot in Afghanistan? They would pull a car up to the
a VBID. It's a vehicle-borne IEDs, right? Where they would, if they want to breach a location, they would use a vehicle-borne IED, maybe like a truck, loaded up with explosives and blow that barrier up and then launch a ground assault, right? But I also think realistically that there would be a perimeter outside of DC so that those insurgent forces wouldn't actually be allowed to make it inside DC. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you're not going to pull the president out from behind the
behind the desk. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be in a bunker or somewhere else.
Right.
So he'll be in a certain location, but he is not going to be hiding behind the desk. Rest assured.
So, yeah. So again, this is a movie, and it can be looked at in a lot of different views. With that being said, hopping over here to chat, Lori Arnold said the movie was about the journalists and very little about an actual civil war.
I mean, it was about a journalist, but it really touched upon different scenarios that we would be seeing in the Civil War. You see, and the realism of those situations, because these are situations that you're going to come across if this stuff actually occurs. You see.
Yeah, people in motorhomes trying to get away, and people congregating in what used to be sports stadiums.
Now it's like they're internally displaced persons. You see.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it is. They're internally displaced persons, and now that's their camp. You see, we've seen all these internally displaced persons before in Gaza, right? Well,
right
in Nigeria, right? And
everywhere.
Right?
Literally everywhere.
Pakistan and Haiti right now too, right?
Haiti right now.
So it's showing you what's going to happen. You see. So this is, like I said, this is something that you really don't want to occur within the United States. You really don't. So.
Yeah. And peace, love, and sunshine. Hello to you. She's saying hello to the chat, to Chris, to me. Let me hop back up. If you got any questions or anything, now's the time. And Black Eyed Peas. I love Bernie. I was a Bernie Sanders delegate in the 2016 convention, and we've talked about that on here before, and I'm going to touch on it again. Peace, love, and unity. Thank you for being here as well. Black Eyed Peas, peace, love, and unity. All church leaders should be held accountable just like any other person. I'm sure that's with the priest thing there in New Orleans. Hello to Not Going Away. As always, thank you for everything you do. So if you got a question, get it in now, or a comment or anything. Are we close, Chris, in your opinion? In my opinion, we're just a significant lighting of the fuse away from, an event or two away from total chaos in the country.
And you're 110% correct there. And yet, I think at the beginning of the show, you talked about what Alex Jones had said about the hit list that whoever has, and if that's accurate and that stuff does happen, well, now that fuse, of course, has been lit and it's gone down to the powder keg and now it's exploded. You see. and just now it just turns ridiculous.
Out of just talking about, other than just talking about this and getting it out and getting people thinking about it, what can we do to turn this tide and try to stop this from happening?
I really don't think there's anything you can do at this point. I think it's been brewing for such a long time, right? That the inevitable is going to occur. I really believe that.
Yeah, and we didn't believe this 3 or 4 years ago when we were talking about this. We had the guy on that did it was while Trump was still president. We did an episode with the guy that had he did the computer simulations on how, what could potentially trigger a civil war. And it was an entertaining thing. It wasn't it wasn't like, oh yeah, okay, 4 years from now we're going to be actually talking about we're here.
Right. So like I said, this isn't something that people really want. They may want it, but when it happens, then they're going to be like, well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. You see.
All right. One final question here, Chris, to wrap it up. Normally when conflicts evolve, people will pick a side. This might be a conflict, depending on how it goes down, where the side picks you.
Right. And Barry, this is something that was in the movie. Okay. And I talk about this to certain demographics. You remember when there's a guy that they were killing the civilians. He was dressed in a military uniform, and they were killing the civilians.
Yeah, the what kind of American are you?
Right, you see. And I talked to different demographics about that, and they say, well, this next civil war is ain't got nothing to do with me. Well, you might want to rethink that, because it might have something to do with you. Okay. Because like I said, people have different agendas, right? It's not as clear cut as it's this group against this group. It's people, like we said, have different agendas doing this. And this is where the waters get muddied. Okay. So, that movie I thought was pretty accurate from the scenarios in it, and I hear different like I said, different demographics. Like, they ain't got nothing to do with me. Nothing. I'm not going to do anything, this and that. You may not do something, but someone might be ready to do something to you. You see?
Yeah. So
it's best that,
all those people that got rounded up and were put into that mass grave.
Right.
I imagine a lot of them weren't planning on getting involved.
Exactly. You see? So that's just what I wanted to say about that.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you, as always. Thank you. Great show. Lots of information on Haiti and on the movie and on where we're at, and always greatly appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Barry, once again.
All right. We'll do this next Friday night, if not before.
For sure.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Peace, brother.
All right.
It's our friend Chris. I'll tell you, it's we've been doing these episodes. We've been pretty extensively since October 7th, when everything kicked off with Gaza and Israel. But Chris and I have been talking on here for over 4 years now. You can go back and look at lots of episodes, and again, we talked about this as as a war game, as a computer simulation with one of the guys that did one of the episodes. He did one of the editions of Dungeons and Dragons, and the dude was a legit game creator, and he did computer simulations as to what things would have to fall in line for us to consider a self-destructive civil war. And unfortunately, a lot of those things are falling into place. Hello, Fred. Thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here. Always greatly appreciate you taking some time to be with us. And again, Chris will be back on Monday, or I'm sorry, Chris will be back on Friday at 9 with me, if not before. And I will probably be on at 11 p.m. Throughout this upcoming week. Tomorrow is Star Wars Day. Tomorrow's also Kentucky Derby Day. And if you want a horse in the Derby, look at the 8 horse. It's not going to be the favorite necessarily, but it might just be the winner. Just, something to think about there. All right. I will be back on. Hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we are back. And please hit that like. If there has been something in this episode that you think other people need to know about, please hit the share and let them know. And yes, we're back to the American Doofus channel. It's just the reason we switched to Eyes Open in hopes that we might draw more viewers and that people might, some people might have automatically just turned off and not wanted to see it because it was called Doofus. And it was pointed out to me this past week that there are like 2,000 channels on YouTube that are called Eyes Open, and there's only one American Doofus. So we're back. We're the American Doofus Show. Thank you for clicking on, for tuning in. Love y'all. Love y'all. Love y'all like chocolate chip cookies. Stay strong. It's a dark world. Try to be a light. I love y'all. Thanks for clicking on. Hit the like, hit the